Okay, we're back again with the Twisted Society podcast, and today we have Astro Dirte, right? Did I get it right?
Yeah, artist name Astronomikill or crybabyastrø. I'm going by both now. Just kind of doing both here.
Okay. Is there is there a reason for one name? Is it like one genre with one name and one with the other? Just because
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. So Astronomikill is gonna be like my more edgy shit, like my more like trap metal, funk, that type shit. More aggressive stuff. I started making like indie music and stuff, and I kind of figured like Astronomikill don't really sound like I should be making bedroom pop, you know. So I came up with like a secondary name.
Mhm. Yeah. So how did you what's the first genre that you really started to make when you started as an artist?
I mean, I've been writing music since I was 5, 6 years old. Can I swear on here?
Yeah, you're fine.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, since I was 6, I've been writing. Me and my best friend Sebastian, I feature him on some of my earlier stuff. We'll be working on some more stuff soon. But me and him used to write like raps on paper plates, like just boom bap style, like old school shit. I grew up listening to like Eminem and like Nas and Wayne and shit like that. So it's kind of more stuff along those lines when I was like a little ass kid, and then I kind of grew into like more alternative stuff.
Mhm.
When I was like when I was like 16, 17, I started listening to like Old X and like Josiah and shit, and I guess 6ix9ine was kind of popping at that time, but I know a lot of people don't really fuck with him anymore. But
Yeah. But at the time everybody kind of was, so you know.
yeah, I was listening like like Helsing Station and shit. That old shit he was doing with Zilla.
Yeah, classic trap metal. So that's kind of when you started to transition into dropping your own music, or was it a little bit after
Yeah.
that?
Well, I first did a song in 2018 with my friend named Alcorn. It was called Dirty Dishes. It was like inspired by like Suicide Boys, some like funk shit.
Mm.
And then like I had FL Studio, but I kind of was like lazy at first. It was really overwhelming trying to like get into it, trying to like mix vocals and stuff. So I just kind of like the next like 2 3 years or next about 3 years, about 2021 is when I actually started like getting serious about music again. Um, I started working with this one dude. I don't really like folk him anymore. He was doing some shady shit, but we were doing like melodic stuff and some like scream shit. Like we were kind of doing both, and then I started just like leaning more into the scream shit because like it was just a really good way to like let out anger, let out those negative emotions, and like just kind of I just kind of like I did it once, and then after that I was like, you know what, I really like this. That felt good, you know.
Mhm. And you said that you're doing like some bedroom pop stuff now too. How did you kind of get into that?
Um, I just like I struggle with depression a lot and stuff, you know, and like I started listening to like artists like Cave Town and like just stuff like that, just that smooth, soft, like just something about a ukulele, dude, just speaks to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just I'm kind of like in my head. There's like I'm bipolar, so I kind of got like two sides to me. You know, I got my fucking ragey, angsty shit, and that's the astronomical stuff, and then the crybaby Astro is like my emotional. You know, I'm going through shit. I'm gonna let out those emotions on that stuff. You know.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. So you're like music for you is kind of a way that you just let out whatever you're feeling, whether it's sadness, anger, or
For sure, yeah.
yeah.
I like to be versatile too. You know, like I like artists like Lil Darky and like Yellow Wolf and stuff. I mean, I know that those are like two completely different artists, but they're both very versatile. They do whatever the fuck they feel like, you know? And like, I just really respect that in an artist. So I try to do that myself. I try to do whatever I'm feeling in the moment, whatever sounds fun to me.
Yeah. So where are you located right now?
Right now, I'm living in Holland, Michigan. It's over near like Grand Rapids is the nearest big city. I'm from a little small town called Loudon, Michigan. Not a lot goes on there. We do have one famous person. It's the Christian rapper NF. He's from
Oh,
there, but other than that, like there ain't really shit going on there. We got like 3 traffic lights. Everybody moves out of there, moves to the city because it's fucking boring.
yeah.
But
That's low key kind of crazy though, because I know he's a Christian rapper, but he's fucking huge though. Like he
yeah,
sells out
he's like
stadiums.
triple platinum or some shit. Like I know
Yeah.
that his one song was like on the radio and shit. It's crazy. But
Yeah.
I actually met him when I was like really young, when I was like 12. I saw he went to the same gym as me. It was like before he was famous, but he was like known around town because my sister went to high school with him. That's how I found out about him.
Oh shit.
He gave me one of his mixtapes. I like reached out to him on Facebook, and he met me at the gym. It was kind of cool, but
Yeah, because I was gonna ask, like, how did that kind of affect your small town after like that? Do you just like they put pictures up of him everywhere and people started being
yeah,
like, I
he's
used to
like
know him?
hometown hero. I mean, they did it when he first got signed to his record deal. He did like a hometown concert at the high school. Like I went to that. Um, I mean, that was probably when I was like 15, 16 when he like first signed his record deal. But that was again like before he went pop and like blew up, you know. But
Yeah.
um, he was still like making a wave then, you know.
Do you find it's like with that type of community? Do you find it's hard to get support for your music, or do you find it's more like people are like fucking with it when you do something?
Dude, my hometown's weird because, like, yes, it's like a super small population, right? There's not a lot of people there, but the amount of talent coming out of there is fucking bonkers. Like, my boy, Hopeless Broke Boy, me and him, we do music together a lot. I've known him since, like, I'm talking, like, straight out of the mud. Like, I've known him since he was in diapers, dude. Like, and he's talented as fuck. A friend Painfully Sober, you know, he makes a lot of the clothes we wear and shit. He's a very talented person. Um, my friend Gotti Soy, he makes some killer music, and we're all from the same little ass hick town. We're just trying to get shit moving, you know.
Yeah. So you definitely got to tell me a bit more about your team then, because you said you got somebody making clothes. You got kind of a collective going, or just a bunch of rappers
Um,
that fuck with each other?
so we haven't made the profile yet, but me and Hopeless are trying to get a little something going. We're calling Northside Nobodies. It's gonna be our clique we got going. We're not it's not fully fleshed out yet, but we're getting there. We're not sure exactly how we're gonna run it. We're thinking like more towards like a collective. Like everybody will stay independent and stuff. We'll just like work with each other and rep the brand, you know.
Mm.
Um, but I just want to shout out those guys, man, because they're very talented people. Hopeless, that dude's got crazy drive. He drops probably like 5-10 songs a week. It's kind of mind blowing.
Holy
But
shit! Yeah. So do you guys have is SoundCloud kind of your primary platform, or at this point is it like
it
a
is for me for now. I plan on so I've got like a whole album I'm sitting on for my Crybabyastrø stuff. It's called Tombstones and Tulips.
mm,
I keep pushing back the date because like I really don't want it to flop. I'm proud of it. It's the best piece of art I've made so far in my opinion. And like I want to wait till I have the proper money to like really promote it, but I'm going to be getting like DistroKid or like Spotify Plus or SoundCloud Plus or whatever so I can, you know, like get it on all plats, and also like I want to be able to like really promote it, you know.
yeah? Because you said you came in the game around like 2021. Do you find that it's like you kind of have to pay to play nowadays? Like it's you don't find it's like as organic.
In a way, I really think like the best way to really try and like go, because I mean I'm still small time, man. I mean I think my most popular song is like 450 or something like that, but like I've just found like doing shows and like connecting with other artists is one of the best ways to really go to like get connected in the music.
Mm.
um because I've done it. I didn't really start like doing shows until last year, but last year I did quite a few shows. I met a lot of really talented artists just doing that, and networking I think is really the best thing. But I will say there is a little element of pay to play. I think it's corny as fuck when people bot views, but
Yeah, super lame.
paying to get on a playlist, man, there's no shame in it. You know, paying for a feature from an artist that's bigger than you, there's no shame in it.
Yeah, it's like it's the difference between presenting your music on like a more shiny platter to get people's attention versus like counterfeiting. Like yeah, there's a huge difference, and
Right, yeah, and people can spot a fraud, you know.
exactly because it's like they got a song that's got nothing, and then all of a sudden it's like ten
Yeah,
thousand.
how the fuck you go from 50 views to 10,000 in a night, you know?
Yeah,
Like come on, get real. You know,
but
you see that growth over time. I mean, my shit's kind of sporadic. I'll drop a song, it'll get 40, 50 plays, and then I'll drop a song and get 2, 300, but I mean like it is random sometimes. Sometimes the algorithm picks you up and promotes you to people, but like I don't know. I just think it's wild how someone can go from like 50 to like over 10K in like a day. I'm like, there
yeah,
ain't no way, bro. There ain't no way.
like I feel like somebody's got to make a competitor to SoundCloud or something because like SoundCloud's still kind of dope, but it's like I don't feel like they're doing anything to upgrade their platform, and it's like they need some
Yeah, it's
competition.
not like it was in, 2016, 2017, you know.
Yeah, I remember seeing commercials from them in I think like 2021, and they were promoting like Little Tecca really hard and being like, "Yeah, people who
Mm,
came out of SoundCloud." I'm like, 2 years ago, like you don't have anybody new that's popping off, but
yeah, I feel like Spotify is really the way to go these days. That's what everybody says to do. Is it's either Spotify or like Apple Music. I don't know. Everybody's like into like the subscription based stuff now. SoundCloud's not really as popping as it was, but for some reason, it's my most popping platform. My stuff on YouTube flops. So,
oh yeah, do you just put out like visual? Do you have visuals, music videos, or
I have a, I think I have like two AMVs, um, and then the other two are visualizers, I believe.
yeah,
But I do have some music videos coming soon. There's gonna be a couple off my mixtape when I drop it. I don't know whether to call it a mixtape or an album because it's long as fuck.
yeah?
But
Somebody explained at one time like a mixtape is like for your base for the streets, and then an album is like what you give to the more commercial audience. I don't know if that's
yeah,
accurate, but
I'd probably call it a mixtape, man. I mean, I'm not at that level yet. I'm
yeah,
trying to get there. But
like
I kind of wish. Part of me wishes I might have taken it a little more serious when I was younger. But you only got the time that you have now.
yeah, that's. Trust me, I get that too. I like all that time in 2020. I was just sitting around during the pandemic. It's like, man,
Oh,
I should have been
yeah,
doing something. But
right.
when you're,
Locked in.
yeah, when you're young though, like you don't realize, like if the pandemic had hit a couple years when I was a couple years older, but I was like just started working, so I'm like, shit, I'm getting all this time off. I'm used to that with summer
Right.
break and all that. But it's like if I got it
Yeah.
now, I'd be like, you never get time off of work. I should have taken advantage of it. But it is what
I
it
I
is.
also try to think about the fact that like if I would have had the ability to make music, because I'm 25 now.
Hmm.
If I would have been making it when I was like 18, 19, I was like really into a lot of drugs back then,
Hmm.
and I probably would have been turning out some fucking garbage. Like
Yeah,
I think about like where my mindset was at back then, and it's like I would have been making music about all the wrong shit. Now I
yeah,
just try to make stuff that like maybe someone can listen to when they're feeling down or when they're feeling angry and just like relate to it and make them feel better about their situation, make them realize like somebody else feels that way, and you're not alone.
yeah,
And I think that that's really important. I think there's a lot of people making music that means absolutely nothing, and then who are you doing it for? What
yeah.
are you doing it for?
That's
A
like,
lot of people are in it for money, fame, whatever, dude. I want people to know that they're not alone in their struggles.
yeah. And that's what I always say. It's like you want to make the money so you can do what you love all the
For
time,
sure.
and not make the music to make money. Like that's the wrong way of going about it because
Exactly, for sure.
you're gonna lose passion really quick. But if you really love it, then it doesn't feel like a job, right? It doesn't feel like work to just
Yeah,
like produce music.
yeah. I mean, would I like to, be able to pay rent off music and not have to work a 9 to 5? Of course. Who wouldn't? But like, that's not what I'm really doing it for. If that's what I was doing it for, I would have quit by
Mm,
now.
yeah, because it would just feel like it would just feel so unauthentic. Like because everyone's like you got to sit down every day, but it's like it must be hard sometimes to sit down and be like I want to make a song
Oh yeah.
today, and you just don't
Oh
feel it.
yeah. I go through dry spells pretty often. Sometimes I'll go a good 2 3 months, when that depression's hitting real hard
Hmm.
and not make stuff. But also at the same time, when I force myself to make music when I'm depressed, it's some of my best shit because like it's raw emotion. But um I will say sometimes it's hard to get out of that hump, that creative slump you just fall into.
Yeah,
It's easy to get burnt out, at least for me. Like I said, my boy Hopeless, dude, he'll sit there, he could probably drop an album a week if he wanted to, but I don't always have that drive. Sometimes I'll make 2 3 songs in a day. Sometimes I'll make 2 3 songs in a couple months.
yeah. Because it's funny. I've heard other artists say that too, where they're like, I can't make music unless I'm super depressed because that's the only time that I really can tap in with my emotions. And it's like it's a terrible
Yeah.
thing because I love music, but at the same time, it's like I don't want to be depressed as fuck every time I'm doing
Yeah.
what I love.
It makes me scared to like get cured. Like,
Yeah,
if I'm too mentally stable, my music might suck. No, but that being said, man, like if anybody's watching this, if you're feeling any type of way, you should really seek help because not only suicide, depression, all that stuff. It doesn't only affect you; it affects those around you.
Yeah. And there's like mental health awareness now, supposedly, but it's like it's really still not where it should be. Like,
It's wishy washy, dude. Because I'll tell you what, in my experience with a lot of people, like I said earlier, I'm bipolar. People are pro mental health when it's like depression and anxiety, but anything beyond that, they're like, "Oh, you're fucking nuts, dude!"
yeah,
Like if I'm out here like hallucinating and shit, that sketches some people out, and I'm like, y'all are pro mental health until I'm fucking out here just tweaking off my brain.
yeah. And that's the worst part too. That now like people fake like certain ones. Like they'll be like, I have ADHD, I have OCD, I got bipolarism, and they don't. And then people think like,
Yeah,
oh, it's not
and
a
it makes
big
people
deal.
who do have it like feel like scared to like reach out and shit. I don't know, like it adds to the stigma.
Yeah, because it becomes like, oh, everybody's seeking attention online, for the. But it's like people think OCD is just like, oh, I got to keep my room straight. Like I've known people who have it pretty serious. It's not like that at all. I got
Most people I
ADHD.
know with OCD, their rooms are pretty fucked, to be honest.
Yeah,
Um, I do know, some people with the neat and clean OCD, for sure. Like my sister is like that, but like, oh shit, the lights turned off.
I know.
um,
Shit,
hold on,
it's going
fuck,
dark.
bro. I didn't mean to interrupt with the lights.
Oh, good. I can cut the
There we
part
go.
out. There we go.
Um, but yeah, I mean, just like,
Oh shit, you went quiet.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. There we go. All good.
It automatically connected to the Bluetooth in my car. Let me shut that off just in case that happens again.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, where were we at though?
You were
I,
saying
I, I lose train of thought really quick.
you were saying like you're talking about OCD, how your sister's like one of the more like clean type of
Oh
way.
yeah, no, like I don't know. I've met plenty of people who are OCD and they're not clean freaks. That's just stigma, and like I don't know. There's plenty of people you know like autism, for example, too. A lot of people stigmatize that. They think it like makes you stupid or shit like that, or like. And I know so many people with like autism who are like this fucking smartest people in the world.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just like I don't know. There's still so much stigma with mental health, even in 2024. Like it's better than it's ever been, but there's still a long, long way to go for sure.
Yeah. Because I remember like at a certain point for the longest time I was like, I don't know why I can't focus in class. I don't know why I can't ever focus. And I was like, maybe I got ADHD, but they always made it seem like ADHD is not that big of a deal. It's not like a pretty serious thing. And then I got
Yeah.
diagnosed, and I'm like, fuck. Like now everything makes sense, and I wish I had known when I was younger, because it's like now I'm in my
Mm.
20s and I know I have this, but if I had known before, I might have been.
Well,
But
I'm in a similar boat with you, man, because I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 16, but it was a misdiagnosis, and like I'm autistic.
hmm,
And I didn't get diagnosed with autism until I was 24. Last year was when I received my autism diagnosis from my actual psychiatrist. Um, but for a long time, I just thought I was a fucking weirdo. you know,
yeah, exactly. It's like,
my
what's
parents
wrong with
never
me?
like thought to get me tested or anything. They just thought I was just a fucking weirdo. So I just thought I was just a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
But
It's like the worst thing is because back like when probably when you were younger, when I was younger too, it was like every kid who was a little hyperactive, they were diagnosing them with ADHD, and then they were putting them on Ritalin, and that was just like
yeah, just
frying
shoving
kids'
Adderall and
brains.
Ritalin down their throat for
Yeah,
sure.
like I don't even think they give Ritalin anymore. And I remember talking to a couple doctors, and I'm like, I got ADHD, I don't want to be put on Ritalin. They're like, yeah, we don't really do that anymore because like it burnt kids' brains, like it gave them more
Yeah,
mental issues
it
than
was
it would.
overprescribed, just like opioids too. I was a victim of the opioid crisis. As a child, I had chronic kidney stones, which like that shit fucking hurts. So kids, you're gonna need pain medicine to deal with that, but
Oh
I
yeah,
had them really chronically. There's other ways to deal with pain management and shit, but my doctor was just shoving them down my throat from age 12 to 19, and I think like that's part of why my mental health is so fucked too. Because I mean, you think about how much your brain develops during that time, and they're just throwing painkillers at me like they're fucking candy.
Especially Oxycontin, like that's pretty
Yeah,
intense.
I was on Norco 10s for
Oh,
7 years, and towards the end of it, when I quit them when I was 19, because I wound up going to like a mental hospital, and they were like, these are probably also like not helping, so they took me off of them. But like towards the end of it, dude, I was doing enough to like kill me every day, but my tolerance had gotten so high. I mean, you're on them for that many years,
yeah.
it goes through the roof. I mean, I think I was doing like 8 or 9 of them at like a day,
What
and like I know like 2 or 3s like could OD like someone who doesn't have a tolerance. So,
was it like you were
but
so like were you in so much pain that you were or was it that you got
oh
addicted?
hell no,
No.
I was getting fucked up for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, once I realized they could fuck me up, I started getting fucked up off them, and like I was being sneaky about it. Like my parents didn't know how much I was doing and shit.
Hmm.
Um, I was like snorting them. I was doing all that. I was doing benzos a lot too. I've been clean for 5 years, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, my brain was fucking soup back then.
Yeah.
But and that's another thing about like mental health stuff is like the a lot of times like people think that like pharmaceuticals really like the only way to like fix you, and I'm not gonna lie and say I don't take any medications. I take Klonopin for my anxiety, but like so many people, they're on like 8, 9 different meds a day, dude. That'll fuck you up just as much as being mentally ill.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got out of the mental hospital, they had me on, I think it was 8 different meds a day, and I was way more fucked up than I was like on no meds at all.
Yeah, because it's I think what happens is that people get kind of a stigma around like, oh, I don't want to take medication. I don't want to feel weird. I think I'm normal. They don't get the diagnosis. Then you start like kind of self medicating. Because I remember when I first noticed
Mm-hmm.
that, I was drinking with my friends one time and we all got drunk. And then like the next day, they're like, what do you want to do today? And I'm like, what do you mean what do I want to do today? Of course I want to drink again. Like I liked it more than everybody else. And I think that was
Right.
because I had shit going on that I didn't realize. And
Yeah, that self medication's real, man. I mean, I started self medicating with psychedelics, and I'm an advocate for psychedelics. I do think that they can be very helpful for like depression and stuff like that.
mm,
It kind of cured. I had an acid trip that kind of cured my social anxiety one time. That's a whole other story. But like, I had this summer where I was doing LSD like every other day because someone told me like you have to take if you take acid every day, you have to double up your dose every day,
mm,
or else like you won't get high. So I'd take like a 1 day tolerance break, and like I was self medicating because I was dealing with a lot of shit, but I didn't want to deal with it head on. I was trying to deal with it through drugs. I was like, these will help me reach spiritual enlightenment or whatever.
yeah.
And that's not what it was, dude. I just wanted to get fucked up, and it wound up making my mental health way worse. I started like hallucinating when I wasn't on drugs, like all the
Mm,
time,
yeah.
and I still don't think I've been the same since. Like I've had episodes of psychosis since, and it's just one of those things. Like you got to have a balance, man. Like if you're taking anxiety meds, you're taking Xans or Klonopin or whatever benzos for anxiety, you need to make sure you're not taking it every fucking day to where you're getting a tolerance and you're taking a shit ton every day.
Yeah.
If you're tripping to try and get spiritual, you need to do it every so often. Don't do it every day. Don't overdo it.
Yeah.
So life's about moderation.
Like if you're gonna not to advocate for psychedelics or whatever, but it's like if you're gonna do it, you should have something in your mind like what am I looking for from this? Like
Right.
what's the end goal? And then try to definitely stay away from like technology and that type of stuff because that would just fuck you up.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
that'll screw you up right there for sure.
And
Um, Also set and setting. Know who you're tripping with. I've I've had my fair share of trips where I was tripping with someone who hasn't really tripped before. They couldn't handle their shit, and now it's fucking up my head. So
I imagine, yeah,
you want to watch where you're at, who you're doing it with. Make sure you're with safe friends. And this goes with any drug. If you're gonna do drugs, do them safely. Buy fentanyl strips. If you're doing cocaine or whatever, buy your fentanyl strips. Make sure you're not getting fented. That took so many people that we care about from us. Like
mm,
in the celebrity realm, even like look at Peep. Look at Juice. Like they weren't doing them safely. I'm not advocating for heavy drug use. I think you should steer clear of most things, but like
yeah.
if you are gonna do it safely. And that's my message to anybody listening. But
Yeah, kind of the like I guess harm reduction type of
Harm
thing.
reduction, yeah,
Yeah.
that stuff's super important, man. I see like, and I don't think like I don't necessarily think we should criminalize addicts the way we do. We throw people in prison for being addicts and stuff. Um, I think rehab's like a better option. I don't really think people should go to prison for drugs unless they're like peddling, like kill your local fentanyl dealer. You might have to cut that, but like
Yeah. They should
just
give they should give them that like they I've heard some states have where it's like if you get in trouble for a drug related thing, it's like you can either go to prison for so many months or you can go to rehab for so many months. And
mhm.
I think you got to go to rehab a little bit longer than the. And sometimes it doesn't
Yeah,
work because they come out and get high again. But at least for like the 8 months that they're in rehab, they're not in fucking prison
right.
doing like prison
Yeah,
drugs,
I
right?
mean, I used to be friends with this dude. He did 5 years in prison, got out, relapsed in 2 months, and stole a fucking car. Like,
Yeah.
some people you can't get help unless you want help.
Hmm.
But sometimes being forced to get the help does help people. And but like, I don't think prison's necessarily the option for addicts. The American prison system's terrible. It's not meant to rehabilitate people. It's meant to keep you in there.
Yeah. And and people think, well, at least if they go to prison, they're gonna get clean. It's like, well, prisons aren't always clean either. People got stuff in there
That's
too.
true.
You know,
Yeah, people smuggle drugs in there all the time.
make wine in the toilet, and people get
Yeah.
shove pot up their
Then
ass and
then you're
stuff.
Mr. Big Baller in there.
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure. So you got an album coming up,
Yep.
and besides
Tombstones
that,
into it.
you got any more shows on the horizon?
Um, I'm trying to get some shows going in like the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. Um, there's a couple up in the air for this summer, but right now there's not anything super concrete. Um, but I'm open to anybody watching this. I'll even travel out of state, really. And like I'm always open to collabs with anybody. Uh, but yeah, don't have any shows set up quite yet.
Because you just moved, right? You said you used to live in the smaller town, and now you're in the inner city.
Yeah, I'm more in the city right now. I've moved around a lot the last few years. I lived in Lansing for a while, and then I lived in Grand Rapids. Now I live in Holland, but Holland and Grand Rapids are like really close to each other. They're not far, but
Hmm.
I'm still pretty much in a city, but it's kind of not. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. It's like suburbs, kind
Yeah.
of.
And the only other thing I guess I'd be interested is that. So you said you came from kind of like a Christian type of community. Are they? Do you got
Oh
people?
yeah, dude. I grew up Catholic. You know what that does to a person?
Do you got people around you that are like, oh, he's screaming, he's making devil music?
No. Actually, surprisingly, almost everybody in my life has lost their faith, but
Oh,
that's a story for another time. But like, no, actually, I do have like a few people that are like, you should maybe tone it down a little bit. I've definitely like had people like, oh, aren't you worried like the put? Because I talk about like drug use and stuff in my music a lot, and like that's not really me anymore. I don't do a lot of drugs anymore, but like I did, so that like was part of my story, and I think that it's like good to talk about for like awareness reasons. But like to any like kids watching this, man, like don't get wrapped up in that shit. It is not worth it. I can't remember shit from yesterday because I scrambled my brain too much, So
yeah. The the whole idea that was sold to everybody that like you can be like Little Pump, you can pop a bunch of Zans and make it. It's like the only reason those guys' music sounded good is because they have professional studios,
engineers, yep, for
engineers,
sure.
producers, and you only saw them early on in their career before they got super fucked up. You wonder why they all disappeared because they got too high to be
Right.
presentable. You know?
Yeah, you look at them now, man, and not very many of them made it. I think like Uzi and Cardi are about it out of that era that are still alive and doing well and thriving.
Yeah, and I think Uzi said at one point that he was sober too. Like at least I don't see
Hmm.
the guy smoking pot much. So
Yeah. I
you
know
know,
that like Suicide Boys got sober, and that makes me very happy. And I hate when people sit there and say like, "Oh, they were better on dope." Do you know how harmful that is to like tell somebody that?
yeah, that's
You know, and like also I disagree. I think that their music production sounds better than ever.
yeah. And I remember when I was looking into their story too, where it was just like, I think it sounds super weird, but I think what a lot of artists need to talk about a lot more is the fact that a lot of these dudes end up on heroin like down the
Yeah,
line. It's never taught. It's like it's awesome. I'm popping an oxy, I'm popping a Xan, doing a Molly, but it's like down the road, like Big Head
leads to heroin for sure.
was fucking smoking fentanyl in his car. Like he said, he would go out and smoke fentanyl when
Right.
he was hanging out with like GBC, who were all drug addicts, but he was such a fuck drug addict that he had to go out the car by himself to smoke that shit. And it's like
Yeah, dude.
that's
I mean, circling back to big pharma, that's the road it leads to. You know how many kids I knew that they had from my being from a small town. It's not really crack or heroin up there; it's meth,
mm,
and like so many of those kids were fucking railing Adderalls with me in high school and shit. We and like that leads to meth use, and then like I easily could have got wound up on heroin because I was doing opioids. That's the strongest fucking opioid there is,
yeah.
and like it's just you keep searching for that high. Unless you get sober, you're gonna keep looking for the bigger high because eventually, that thing you're getting high on, you're not getting so high on it anymore. You're taking it to get baseline, so you need the next best thing. You go from oxy and then you move up to morphine because that's a little bit stronger. Then you move up from morphine to heroin, then from heroin to fent because
To
you're
try
fucking
and
getting such a high tolerance. That's what you need to get a fucking buzz on now. And now you're fucking ODing in the Walmart parking lot.
yeah,
And,
they got this new shit
it's
out
really
now
sad.
that I keep seeing in Canada. They got this shit called Trank now, which is just like horse
Yeah.
tranquilizers, and it's like even
I saw
stronger
it's
than
like rotting
fentanyl.
people's arms off and shit.
Holy shit! And they end up like how hunched over because their bones start to crack.
Yeah.
I guess it's like holy shit. But
Yeah, it's nuts.
it's like I think people always either think of it two different ways. You got the young people who are like, "Oh, I'll never get to that point. I'm just gonna, do the cool, the party drugs." Or you got older people who are like, "That could never be me." But it's like the two biggest groups of people who get on both meth and heroin are busy ass moms who can't sleep because they're single moms. They got
Hmm.
kids. They start doing speed. It turns into
Yep.
meth. You would never expect it, and then that happens. And heroin addicts are usually people who just normal dudes. They hurt themselves at work. The doctor gives them a bunch of
Yep.
Oxycontin, and then the Oxycontin runs out, and it's heroin.
I've seen it in real time, man. Like I said, a lot of my childhood friends and family members are hooked on meth, dude.
Hmm.
There ain't shit you can do about it because they don't want fucking help, And
And
but I just, like I said, I recommend to anybody who's like struggling with drug addiction, mental illness, just reach out. Somebody will listen.
hmm,
Somebody will listen. There's somebody out there who loves you, no matter who you are. There's at least one person on this, and there's fucking 8 billion people on this planet. Someone fucking cares.
yeah, and it's like, what am I trying to say? It's like I keep hearing stories now. I don't want to give too much away, but just like even the people we look up to, they say the main reason that so much of the underground scene came apart is just because there was drug abuse just going rampant, and a lot of it got
Yeah.
covered up. But that's why you got like stupid issues. I've heard that Peep was a perfectly cool, like normal guy. Like half of the time, he would like just smoke weed, and then he would get
Mm.
around the people who were doing the more hard drugs, and then it was like he would start
Yeah,
acting
that's
weird, you
all it
know?
takes, dude. Like, you know, um, never really like spoke about this. I hope my mom doesn't fucking watch it. Actually, I probably shouldn't talk about it. But like, I was hanging around people that were doing meth, dude, and like, I tried that shit once upon a time. It was the dumbest fucking thing I ever did.
Mhm.
But like, and you don't have to edit that out or nothing. But like, you know, it is who you're around. Sometimes people say, "Oh, I can hang around people and I can still keep my cool. They can be doing whatever." Da 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 da. Sometimes it'll wear you down, dude. I was so against that shit for so long, and I spoke out heavily against it. And all it took was, my friend asked me multiple times if I would try it, and I was strong at first, and I said no. Then I had a particularly bad day, and I was hanging out over there, and
Yeah.
he's like, "You sure you don't want to try it?" And I was like, "Fuck it, pass it over." And that's all it really takes, dude. So you really do actually have to watch who you're hanging around. You are who you hang with sometimes. Like, I'm sure there are people out there with enough willpower to turn the same thing down every day, but don't put yourself in that position.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. Well, I remember one time I was like high with my buddies, and we were at this guy's apartment. He's like, "Look what I just found." He found a fucking meth pipe, and I was like super stoned. I just started like looking at it and tweaking out. I'm like, "Oh!" Like just seeing the thing, I was like, "Fuck,
Yeah.
man!" You know?
Nah, dude, that's some real shit, and it's fucking horrible. I've seen beautiful women turned into fucking hags, dude. Teeth rotted out of their skull, fucking. you know, bug eyed and shit. And it does irreversible damage, man. It's just not worth it. You know, you watch people you love turn into fucking strangers, and
Yeah.
it's just not worth it, man. That's my
Just
biggest message to anybody listening. Is drugs are not fucking worth it.
and
They're not worth your life.
if that doesn't convince you, think of it this way: so many people in the underground scene and music industry are hooked on drugs. So if you stay sober, you'll already be way ahead of them. So you know that
That's
you want
true.
to
That's
compete.
true.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I agree. It's
For sure, man.
even if you don't get addicted or whatever, like there's nothing wrong with doing whatever once in a while, like you know what I mean, having a beer or having but
Right.
when you're just
I mean,
wasting
yeah, I
time.
smoke weed every day. I'm not
Mm,
gonna say that like I'm a straight edge kid, you know, but like I I smoke pot every day, and like I'll gobble a couple mushrooms here and there, but like
yeah,
I ain't what I used to be, you know. I used to be fucked up out of my mind every day. So
yeah. Just find what works for you, run with that, and put the music first, and
for sure.
stick around the right people. Try not to get fucked up in this underground scene. Look out for
Yeah, there's a lot of snakes. A lot of
oof,
snakes in the grass.
holy shit,
A
yeah.
lot, a lot of people just looking for a little bit of clout. They're not really your friends.
Unfortunately, that's the way. Ego's the worst drug. That's what I've heard. Ego's the worst drug.
That's
So
true. That
yeah,
is true. There's a lot of those floating around.
yeah,
I try to I try to not let shit get to my head. If someone says my music's dope, that's cool, but like I'm
yeah,
not gonna let it get to my head, you know. I I I I make music for me, and if other people fuck with it, like I appreciate it, you know. And like I also urge anybody who's like thinking about making music to do it, because like even if you think you suck, there's gonna be people that like your music. Like there's people who like meme rap where people are just saying bullshit and like just being fucking silly. Like
you know
if Lil
Miles.
Drop Top Golf Cart can get famous, so can you. You know,
Yeah, exactly. That's the best example you probably could have came up with. Is that fucking guy?
right? If he
Yeah,
can make it, so can you, motherfucker. And I mean, like people act like their vocals got to be perfect. You know, there's literal subgenres that are like meant for your vocals to sound shitty. Like there's people who make their vocals sound shitty on purpose. Half the people Peep featured couldn't sing for shit, but they still did it, and it was still fucking awesome because that was the real them.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think I'm that good of a singer, but I fucking love singing, and I'll sing till the day I die.
yeah. Might as well just keep working with it. You never know what can happen. Sometimes there's probably
For
tons of
sure.
super talented artists that never get discovered, and there's some artists that
That's
suck.
true. And you know, if
Yeah,
you don't give it your all, you'll never know. I would
yeah,
rather give it my all and fail miserably than die without giving it anything and having regrets.
yeah. So I know pretty well the whole conversation we've been talking about kind of messages and stuff, but I would say like if you had one final thought or message or whatever to people
Mm.
listening, what would that be?
Always authentically be yourself. You can't be somebody who you're not. You can't be, whoever you're looking up to. You're not them. You are you. It is okay to draw inspiration from people. Never be a copycat and always be yourself.
Awesome. All right.